As the guitar rings out, we are live. It is me and MLBDream. It is the one and only MLB Picks and Props show around the diamond. We got Quan producing, and we're going to talk about baseball plays today. We appreciate those of you that are watching on the GamePlus Network. You could always come by the YouTube channel live if you ever find the time. That's right, the FTN YouTube channel's got you covered. This is all pretty much the foundation. The structure of this show comes from FTN Bets. We got the live bet tracker. You can see all of Dream's plays, my plays, anybody who works at FTN who makes bets on anything, not just baseball. It's all available at ftnbets.com. Make sure you hit the like button. That's a standard procedure issue. If you watch a video on YouTube, that's the first thing you do. Click the thumbs up and then proceed to watch and listen and take in the information. Dream, it is Friday. Last Friday was a good show for us. I don't know if things went according to plan, as we talked about on Monday. Sometimes they don't. But today I feel good, and I'm excited to be here with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's always nice to be here with you and Quan. I think, if I'm not mistaken, did you sweep or did you go 1-1 last Friday?
Yeah, I think I did it. I finally got a twofer on that end. Yeah, and
I lost the Giolito strikeout by a half a K. And what's funny is it's the same matchup tonight. I went back. Actually, I wanted to bet the over 5.5. They opened it at over 6.5 today, which I found a little, I guess, curious that it wouldn't still be at the 5.5 that it was at last week. So it didn't make my card at 6.5. But I was definitely hoping for another 5.5. And I would have just fired on it right again.
Yeah, a week ago on Friday, we were in the same situation, except the Tigers were hosting the White Sox, and I watched that game. I remember being there. I told you guys about that, and Giolito didn't look that great, but now the strikeout prop goes up a run just because he's at home? Or you're right, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. They have to know that bettors are generally paying attention. I know not every bettor is like you or me. We're locked in on like the daily routine of what's going on with every line. So maybe that's part of it too. But I just don't see what the big advantage is to add Giolito with another K in his prop.
I mean, he really struggled, and like we said, he lost by the hook, so he's still, I don't want to say he should have got there, but it was, it was a coin flip at that point. So it was just interesting. I mean, yeah, it's like they want us to, they want some of our under money at this under 6.5. I'm not going to bite on that unless somebody else, wants to hammer that and give me a 5.5 again, and I'll go ahead and bet the over once again.
Maybe the Tigers lineup is that much worse a week later, but I would actually disagree with that. Even though Jordan Lyles pitched a gem against them at Camden Yards the other night, before that, the other two games of the series, they were scoring some runs. In fact, they scored, I think, 9 runs in one game the other day, and that's unusual for the Tigers, so not so fast. Let's go easy on that. But we're not doing that play today. I'm actually going back to the well with one of my plays, Dream, because, if something works, you got to stick with it. But you got to be smart. I don't like to go back to the well again and again, but sometimes if you see an advantage, you stick with it. But never chase the previous play. That's something I always try to avoid, is don't chase something just because it happened one day and you think it'll happen another day.
No, for sure. I mean, and you and I were talking about Stripling the other day, and you're like, hey, when I see Stripling, I think of you. And again, I think they opened, I want to say it was a 3.5 strikeout prop, or even 4.5, whatever it was against Tampa. It was in range, but I didn't like the matchup, so I went ahead and stayed off of it. I think that was yesterday or the day before. But yeah, every day is a new day, but you take what you've learned or the information you have from previous slates, and you do apply it to that day.
Absolutely. And if anybody wants to jump in with comments or questions about today's props, picks, plays, anything in MLB, we're happy to talk about it with you. If you have some future bets that you're looking at for the playoffs or for award season, which is always, MLB award seasons, I think it's one of the bigger award routines of all the sports, in my opinion. It gets a lot of fanfare, and each day is dedicated to one specific award, and they drag it out over 10 days or so. It's a pretty unique event amongst the other awards in the major professional sports in the United States.
It is, and honestly, this is the point in time in the season where you can kind of get in trouble with the MLB awards. Like, you could see a pitcher listed. I know this happened to me. I want to say I think it was last year. DeGrom was about plus 300 or plus 250 to win the Cy Young. I mean, it was pretty much Burns' award, but I had trouble passing on that number, so I had to take a bite of that, and I think he finished second. And, we kind of see that in the National League this year. A lot of people think that Sandy has had this award wrapped up for well over a month now. I know Julio Urias was a guy that's having a great season. I didn't think was getting very much fanfare. or we just weren't hearing much about him. I want to say he was like even 30-1 a couple weeks ago, and now those odds have dropped significantly. But I still there's still, yes, technically there is still value there, but the chances of him winning are just not that high. So I went ahead and stayed away from that. So it's just hard to grab those. It's hard to stay away from some of those big plus numbers at this point in the season.
It really, really is. I feel you on that. All right, well, let's dive into my first play of the day. Yes, I've got some plays for you, and I am going to a total. The first one is the Nationals taking on the Marlins tonight. This game is in Miami, and I'm going over. That's right. Last week, these same two teams played, and it was my play. I won that one. It was 8, I believe, total, and they scored 9 runs. It was just enough to cover it. But this time, it's a little different. It's down just a tad. So we're looking at an over total of 7. So if they scored 8 last Friday, why can't they score 8 or 9 again? I don't see why not. It's plus 100 on DraftKings, so I'm taking the over and the Nationals-Marlins total of 7. Over 7, and a little bit of a plus juice there, a little bit of a benefit to see if it'll come to reality. It was also a plus last week, so hey, I'm just kind of sticking with a winner on this, but I'm also pretty confident that there's runs to be scored because you have Josiah Gray pitching for the Nats, which immediately implies what? 2 homers dream minimum?
That sounds about right.
I know. So I'm expecting a couple bombs. I know the Marlins offense isn't always dominant. That's putting it mildly. So I'm not really sweating it, though, because this is going to play out well in my favor. Now, last I checked, I thought we had a starter, but I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like it's a TBD on the Marlins. I don't know, Dream, if you saw anything else on this in terms of who's going to start or if this is going to be a bullpen game, because right now that's what I'm getting on MLB.com is Josiah Gray versus a empty picture that says TBD.
Yeah, that's why I was a little unsure when you threw it to me. I actually didn't do this game because we do see a line a couple places. We see, you bet the over 7 at 7. I see the Marlins are favored at minus 130. So I'm a little curious. I haven't seen anything. I haven't really looked that deep, but I don't see a starter for the Marlins here. So I didn't actually do this game, but you mentioned Gray's home run issues. He's giving up almost 2.5 home runs per 9, which is pretty much what he gave up last year, significantly higher than his minor league numbers. But yeah, the only difference between this matchup and last week is Marlins Park. But honestly, I think you might be better off in Miami today as opposed to here in DC, where it's officially fall. It's, I think, 60 or 55 degrees right now. It is chilly. We both have the hoodies on. So yeah, it's not ideal over weather at Nationals Park. I think you're better off here in Miami. And I'm really wondering, I really can't have an opinion without knowing, I guess, who's pitching for the Marlins.
Well, DK has Braxton Garrett labeled as the starter right now. If you go to DraftKings website, you look at the app for the sportsbook, it's got Josiah Gray versus Braxton Garrett. So maybe there's a disconnect here. Maybe it is Garrett. MLB just hasn't updated. I'll have to dig in a little further on that. But that was still my point. Even with Braxton Garrett on the hill, a guy who could be really, really studly at times and rack up the Ks, but he can also be prone to a game where he just doesn't have the same bite on his stuff. It's just not as nasty. So I think if he ends up being the starter here, and I'd love to verify this, but regardless, these bullpens are trash, in my opinion. This is really the key to it all. Like, Jesus Luzardo was one of the starters last week, and he pitched well, but the bullpen blew it for them. I think the Marlins were up 4-0 in that game last Friday, and then the bullpen came in and proceeded to blow a 4-run lead, tied it at 4-4, and they ended up winning 5-4 in the end, I believe. So I don't really care who's starting for the Marlins or not, because these bullpens, this is always a key that we've talked about on the show a few times, Dream. You got to remember, it's not just about the probable starters you see labeled there. It's about who's on the back end. And the Nats and the Marlins just do not inspire confidence in me at all with their bullpens.
No argument for me there. They have a bunch of cast cans in that pen, and once these starters get out, the pitching situation is going to get worse. Now, I do see the Marlins recalled Braxton Garrett yesterday from AAA, so he's likely the starter today. I think it's not official, maybe because they haven't officially called him up and added him to the roster, so that's probably why. But yeah, it does look like Braxton Garrett and Josiah Gray.
So there it is. I'm taking the over in this one between the Nationals and the Marlins in Miami tonight. Over 7, plus 100 on DraftKings. All right, let's turn it over to you, Dream. Who is your main play today on the slate?
Ooh, we're picking on the Oakland A's once again. Chris Bassett returns to Oakland. Maybe a little bit of a revenge game for him, facing his former team here. Now, Oakland has the 5th highest strikeout percentage versus righties on the season, and it's actually 3rd highest since September 1st at almost 28%. So the A's love to swing those bats. They have the 7th highest swing percent and the 5th highest whiff percentage in baseball. Now, Oakland doesn't chase that much out of the zone, but when they do chase, they have the 3rd lowest O contact percentage, and that's a contact on pitches made outside the strike zone, and the 8th lowest Z contact percentage, which is on pitches inside the strike zone. Overall, Oakland has the 4th highest swinging strike percentage, as well as the 4th highest swinging strike plus called strikes percentage in baseball. So Bassett does a good job of mixing in 5 different pitches, keeping hitters off balance. He doesn't throw too hard, but he's a really good control and location guy. Oakland has the 2nd most strikeouts versus a slider. That happens to be Bassett's 2nd or 3rd most thrown pitch. And it's his 2nd best strikeout pitch, along with his best whiff percentage, I think at about 30%. Now, Bassett has the best swinging strike percentage of his career and the lowest Z contact percentage of his career, along with his 2nd best K percent of his career. Now, for his career, he has an 85% Z contact percentage. It's down to 82% this year. And it's tied for the 6th best in baseball with Garrett Cole, who, like I said, we don't really think of Bassett here as a strikeout guy because he isn't. But this year he's done a pretty good job at missing some bats. So his 19% called strike percent is the best of his career, and it's actually the 4th best in baseball as well. Now, I mentioned this on Wednesday. 2 things I don't love is all the foul territory here in Oakland might take away a strikeout or 2. Hopefully not. And we don't have the umpire situation yet. We don't know who's umping. With this being game 1 of the series, but I still expect Bassett to pitch about 7 innings, strike out 5 or 6 batters, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see this close at 5.5. I think I got what I get 4.5 right here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said I bet over 4.5 at -155, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one close at 5.5.
Beautiful. I love it. Let's party. Chris Bassett time back in Oakland should be a doozy. We actually have a comment here, which is a question. This one's from Mason. He says, what strikeouts prop do you like today? Dream, I think this is a perfect time to ask this question. First of all, thank you, Mason, for watching and asking the question. We'll try to give you our best answer. But this is a great time for you to maybe give us another strikeout prop or 2 that you were looking at least that are somewhat interesting to you.
Now, another one I locked in was Garrett Cole, 7.5. Over 7.5, -123. They're playing the Red Sox, who, they were a pretty disciplined team, I'd say, for the first couple months of the season, even when they were struggling back in April. But their strikeout percentage has increased throughout the year. And Garrett Cole going tonight, I want to say he got 10 or 11 the last time they faced each other. So I like him to get 8 or 9 tonight. So that was one I locked in. I don't know if there were any other ones. Another one was Springs. I was kind of hoping we'd see a 4.5 there. That one opened at 5.5, so I'm leaving that one off. And again, I already mentioned Giolito. If that moves back down to 5.5, I'll go ahead and add that. But those were the 4 or 5 K props that I kind of had today that I was looking at.
Yeah, Springs at 5.5 they're trying to tantalize me on DK because it's +100 for Jeffrey Springs at 5.5. It still doesn't feel great against Toronto, even though the Rays looked great last night, and the Rays they play well at home, and they seem to have their best games at home lately. And I love that. Man, I think the Rays and Jays have played a bunch over the last 10 days. They've had a lot of matchups. So these teams are really familiar with each other. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think I could go that play either. I agree with you. I do like Carlos Rodon over 7.5 Ks against the Diamondbacks. This game is in Arizona, and it's +115 for the over 7.5 strikeouts for Rodon. Rodon can strike out 10 guys in 5 innings, no problem. He's done it before. He'll do it again. I know there was some slight injury concerns with him over the last 10 days, but as far as I know, he's okay. He's going to be good to go. So if he takes the hill against the D-backs, I like over 7.5 Ks, and especially at +115, which it really seems like they're trying to get me to go that route, which also makes me pause, Dream. It makes me feel like, whoa, why is this +115 for an elite strikeout pitcher?
For sure, for sure. And, Rodon is a guy that's expected to opt out of his contract. So he's probably going to hit free agency again, which means he's still playing for that next big contract. I want to look into Arizona a little bit more. I know, I want to say for the first half of the season, they were one of the most, they had probably one of the higher strikeouts in the league. I know they've cut it back significantly, so I want to kind of look into those splits as well. But I do like the Giants today. I was actually just thinking about how to exactly to play them. If I wanted to play them at -1, which my guess would probably come in at -135 or something in that range, or even the first 5 minus half a run line. So I'm just still trying to figure that out, and I'll probably put that into the bet pack once we're done here. But I will be on the Giants today. I just don't know exactly how.
Yeah, the D-backs are sneaky good. I mean, they give the Dodgers fits. The Giants seem to have more of an edge over them for some reason. There are team-to-team matchups where sometimes teams just have their numbers. Those are real quantifiable things that we can look at. But Carlos Rodon,
sorry, but you actually mentioned that we were just talking about Springs, right? Now he actually has reverse splits where I want to say his strikeout percentage versus, he's a lefty, but his strikeout percentage versus righties, I want to say, is about 8% higher than it is versus lefties. And the Blue Jays are a team that normally would put 8 or 9 righties in their lineup, but in their last start, even though he had a swinging strike percentage of 19%, a Z contact percentage of 69, the Blue Jays did put a few lefties in the lineup to kind of offset those splits. So I'm kind of expecting that today. Now, if they do come out with a lineup with 9 righties or even 8, I might go back and add that Springs over 5.5. But at this point, I'm expecting, maybe around 5 or 6 righties. And then finally, like you said, they're adjusting. So they're going to add more lefties in the lineup.
Toronto doesn't have a left-handed hitter that strikes fear, though. That's the problem. Even when they have lefties to play, that's been their Achilles heel, is no elite lefty hitter in that lineup. That's fascinating. Just a piece of information I would share real quickly. All right, Mason, thanks for the question. That's good stuff. We appreciate you watching and joining us here on the MLB Picks and Props show around the diamond. My second play here, I got to slide it in, is, well, sometimes it just feels right. And it's a K prop. So this is good for you, Mason. I hope this one works out for you because I'm going to play it. I'm taking over 4.5 Ks for Eric Lauer tonight against the Reds in Cincinnati. Over 4.5 Ks, plus 100 again on DK. I'm a sucker for these plus 100s. I hit 2 of them last Friday, so it is definitely doable. It's not always a sucker's play to chase that plus amount. It's not. But Eric Lauer's a guy, he really confuses me because it looked like he took, and I know this, you've talked about Eric Lauer as well, Dream. He's a guy who's taken steps to be almost an elite, borderline elite pitcher. It looked like that for moments last year and this year, but then he falls right back into the routine where the contact is strong against him, and he just does not get these elite whiff games more often than not. So this is, to me, I feel like if it was at 5.5, I definitely wouldn't bet it. But the fact that it's at 4.5 for Eric Lauer, it's tantalizing enough where I think it'll be tight, but I think he can strike out 5 Reds tonight.
I mean, 4.5 at plus money against this Reds team that has, I think since August, they have the 4th highest K percent at 27%. And since September, it's 27% as well. So it's kind of hard to pass on this. You mentioned Lauer. He's a guy that I've had just trouble with this year. He's been a little inconsistent in terms of his strikeout percentage, and I think that's what makes it so tough. In March and April, he had a strikeout percentage of nearly 37%. It dipped down to 24% in May, and then 16% in June, and back up to 24% in July. So I don't know which guy we're getting here, but at 4.5 plus money against this Reds team, I mean, I like where you're at here. He should finish with 5 here.
The real worry here, too, though, is his home runs per 9 is at 1.7 for the season. That's bad. That is not good. And he's in a home run happy park, Great American Bozo Park in Cincinnati. That's a problem. So, I mean, Colton Wong hit 3 home runs last night there. He's not a power hitter. It just happened. So that's
remind me about that. We were facing him in the my fantasy playoffs, and really got the trash talk going last night. So I was not too pleased with that.
Oh, man, that stings. I feel for you. I lost my head-to-head championship last week. We closed the season by middle of September because they don't want to have the last couple of weeks be a part of the final. But, yeah, I would have loved for something like that to happen. Nothing materialized for me, and I just flat-out lost. So I feel your pain, man. I know the head-to-head pain. You play all season long, and then it comes down to 1 week, It's tough.
Well, the good thing for Lauer tonight, it's I don't want to say chilly, but it is in the low 60s. Wind is blowing in. There's only about 3-4 mile per hour wind, so that won't be much of a factor. But it is not ideal over conditions in Cincinnati. So I mean, honestly, at plus money, this is close to a coin flip. I think he'll finish with 4 or 5, but I'll be rooting for you. And I mean, it's really hard to, like I said, hard to pass on this against the Reds at plus money, and you only need 5 to win.
Yeah, his last game logs, 4Ks, 5Ks, 4, 2 against the Dodgers. But yeah, this is a chance for me. In fact, the last time he played Cincinnati, August 5th, that was at home, though. He only struck out 4 Reds. So it's very likely that Lauer is mediocre and doesn't have a great game. I freely admit that, but I just like enough of the matchup here where I think it's worth putting a little money on that plus to see if it'll play. So I'm going to lock it in. Lauer over 4.5 Ks tonight at Great American Bozo Park. I do believe that it is possible, and I'm in Detroit, so I'm in the Midwest. Cincinnati's a few hours away, 4 hours southwest of me. And yeah, the air is cooler. We've hit the fall weather that Dream was talking about, has kind of hit all of us here. So it will be cooler this evening in a lot of parks around the Midwest. Any other plays you want to mention right quick before we get out of here, Dream?
Those are the only 2 I have locked in. I do like the Yankees as well. I don't really know how to play them. I don't know if I'll find a parlay partner for them. Like I said, I already bet the Garrett Cole K-prop there. I'll be adding the Rays and the Padres as well. Actually, maybe Yankees Mets parlay could might be a decent one at plus money. And I'll probably add the Padres team total as well. I think they're at Coors. So I won't have a huge card today. Again, I don't love betting team totals or even K props when we don't know we don't have the umpire information in the first game of the series. But yeah, that's probably what I'll be on for tonight.
I'll tell you, it just feels like someone's going to strike out 13 tonight. Because if you look at this week, Dream, have you noticed this? How many guys have literally struck out 13? Zach Gallen, Tristan McKenzie, I want to say Blake Snell got there too. This all happened this week. So it's been a wild week for the number 13 and double-digit Ks from starters. Someone's going to do it tonight easy. And that'll probably be Rodon. I really think that.
You might talk me into betting Rodon. We'll look into the D-back splits a little bit more. And I think Woodruff came pretty close yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. He had finished with 11. He finished with 11, but that was also another one that I thought was a strikeout too high. I think 7.5 yesterday. He went over that one easy.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a fun night in MLB. Yes, we're all focused on football, college football, NFL. Yes, I mean, I'm into it too. I make plays. If you're into my plays in football world, you can also check it out on the FTN Bets Bet Tracker. Check out what Dream's been betting on. The season has been a really strong one for him. It's very likely he will make you money. I'm not just saying this to be a shill for FTN. I'm not. Let the record speak for itself. Join FTN Bets now. Use my promo code, MJ Govier. Yeah, throw that in there if you want. Use any promo code. Just get in the Bet Tracker and learn at FTNBets.com. It's fantastic. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of the GamePlus Network watching us tonight. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget, we're here on the FTN YouTube channel as well. Give us a like, follow, lock in with us. Follow MLBDream on Twitter, MJ Govier on Twitter. And to Quan, our producer, thanks so much for joining us, and I hope all your plays are winners tonight.